When the cameras came back on for the final segment, the studio felt transformed. What began as a polished celebrity interview had turned into something raw and electric, like the air right before a storm breaks. The audience wasn't sitting back anymore. They were on the edge of their seats, eyes locked on the four of us with a kind of stunned hunger for the truth. The host's face was composed, but even she carried a flicker of disbelief. She looked into the main camera and spoke with a gravity that made every word feel like a weight dropping onto the stage. Welcome back. We've witnessed family revelations, hidden footage, and painful truths. Now we arrive at the question the world has been asking since this story went viral. Will this family reconcile? Will they take accountability? Or will this moment mark the point of no return? My parents looked like statues, expressionless, too stunned to regroup. My sister wiped under her eyes, avoiding the cameras entirely. The host turned to my father first. I want to give you the opportunity to speak directly to your son, to your daughter, to everyone watching. Is there anything you want to say? My father cleared his throat. His voice came out rough, stripped of the smooth, polished confidence he'd always worn like a suit. I didn't expect this. I didn't expect the footage, the reaction, any of it. He paused, maybe searching for the right words, maybe searching for a way out. But I stand by our decisions, he finally said. The audience erupted. Boos, scoffs, disbelief. The host raised her hand to quiet them, but the damage had already struck the air like lightning. My father continued, voice hardening. Parenting isn't perfection, it's choices, and we chose to invest in our daughter because she demonstrated dedication to the family legacy. And your son didn't? The host asked, eyebrows lifting sharply. He walked away, my father replied. He separated himself from us long before any of this. My chest tightened, but I didn't look away. I met his eyes and said quietly, I separated myself to protect myself. My mother finally spoke. We never wanted this public humiliation. You've taken a difficult situation and made us look like monsters. The audience hissed. The host leaned forward, gaze laser-focused. This isn't about humiliation. This is about accountability. Your son didn't create this narrative. You did. My mother clenched her jaw. We did what we thought was right. And you never questioned why it only felt right for one child, the host countered. My sister reached out toward me hesitantly. I'm sorry, she whispered again. I didn't know what it felt like. I never saw it from your side. Because you never had to, I said softly. She swallowed hard, tears gathering. I thought we were a family. I thought you were just distant. I didn't realize I was standing on ground built from everything you didn't get. Those words hit harder than anything my parents had said, because she wasn't lying, she wasn't deflecting, she was finally seeing. The host let the moment breathe, then turned to me. You've shared your truth openly, courageously. Now the world wants to know, what do you want? An apology? An explanation? Closure? I took a long breath. What did I want? Not money, not inheritance, not a rewrite of the past, just honesty. I want acknowledgement, I said. Just once. I want my parents to admit that what they did was unfair, that the dollar wasn't symbolic, it was intentional, that they hurt me. My parents exchanged a look, a long, heavy silence passing between them like a wall forming brick by brick. My father's jaw flexed. We're not apologizing for our choices. My mother added, You're sensitive. That's the issue. The audience exploded. Anger, disbelief, uproar. People stood from their seats. Some shouted. Others shook their heads. The host even recoiled slightly, stunned by the coldness of their response. My sister looked as though her heart had shattered. Mom, Dad, please, just apologize. Please. My father didn't turn toward her. We have nothing to apologize for. That sentence, cold, final, felt like the last nail sealing a tomb. Not mine. Theirs. The host turned to the camera, her voice trembling with the weight of the moment. You've witnessed it here, in real time, a family dividing in front of the world. She looked at my parents. You had a chance to make this right, and you chose not to. My mother crossed her arms, refusing to look at anyone. My sister's shoulders shook. I exhaled, a long, steady breath that felt like decades of weight dissolving. Then the host said something no one expected. We've received live reactions from across the internet, she announced. Hashtags are already trending, and the overwhelming consensus is clear. The world feels your son deserves better. My parents looked blindsided, caught between public scrutiny and their stubborn pride. My sister turned to me, voice trembling. If you ever want to rebuild... The silence that followed my mother's words felt like it had weight, heavy, suffocating, pressing down on my chest until breathing became an act of sheer will. The studio lights buzzed faintly above us, but everything else seemed frozen. Even the audience, hungry for drama, seemed unsure if what they had just heard crossed some invisible line. The host, usually quick with a follow-up, hesitated. For a moment, it felt like even he needed to process what this family had just admitted on national television. Then he cleared his throat and stepped forward, voice softer than before. That's a strong statement, he said cautiously. Are you saying that your child, your own blood, is no longer part of the family unless they meet this financial demand? My father answered before my mother could. We're saying, he said firmly, that every family has expectations, and ours were clear. If one person refuses to do their part, then they don't get to enjoy the benefits of the family name. I stared at him, stunned. Benefits? What benefits? Years of emotional blackmail? Of being the only one who picked up the pieces? That's what you call benefits? My father didn't flinch. He looked at me as if I were some stranger who had wandered onto the stage by accident. You were given opportunities, he said coolly. More than your sister ever was. My sister didn't deny it. She merely folded her arms tighter, watching me with a look that wasn't anger or sadness. It was satisfaction. She was winning. She felt it. And she wanted me to feel it too. The host turned toward her. You clearly sided with your parents in court. What made you confident enough to make that statement, pay up or step aside, knowing the world might judge you for it? She didn't hesitate. Because truth doesn't need approval. My sibling has been dodging responsibility for years, and I'm tired of being the only one who sees it. I let out a short, disbelieving laugh. You? The only one who sees it? You barely even speak to us unless there's a camera pointed at you. Her jaw tightened, but she didn't break her composure. The host raised a hand gently, signaling for calm. Let's slow down. I want to understand this debt. What exactly was owed? And why did it end up in a courtroom instead of being resolved privately? My mother inhaled deeply, as if preparing a script she'd been rehearsing. We lent money, she said. Money that was meant to be repaid. There was a timetable, agreements. And instead of honoring that, someone kept asking for more time. That's not what happened, I shot back immediately. You told me the money wasn't a loan. You said it was help. You said it was family. It was family, my mother said sharply, until you took advantage of it. The host noticed the shift. Took advantage? How? My father answered, eyes locked on me like I was a runaway prisoner. By expecting us to keep giving without giving anything back. Giving what back? I leaned forward, voice trembling but steady. You want the list? Let me give it to you. The audience stirred. Even the cameramen seemed to adjust their angles, sensing a shift. I paid the mortgage twice when Dad's business went under. I covered Mom's medical bills when the insurance refused. I bought groceries for months. I paid utilities when notices were already taped to the front door. I helped every single time you were drowning. And I did it without asking for anything, because I thought that's what family did. My sister scoffed loudly. You want applause for doing the bare minimum? The bare minimum? I repeated slowly, incredulously. You weren't even there. You were chasing auditions and brand deals while I was closing bank accounts so Mom and Dad didn't lose the house. That wasn't my problem, she snapped. Everyone has their own life. And somehow mine became responsible for all of yours, I said quietly. The host stepped forward again, voice lowered like he was navigating a cliff edge. It sounds like there was miscommunication, or maybe expectations that weren't clearly expressed. My mother shook her head. We expressed them. He just didn't listen. You never expressed anything, I fired back. You hinted, you guilt-tripped, you manipulated, but you never once told me the truth, not until you dragged me into court like I was some criminal. My sister leaned forward then, eyes narrowing into something sharp and unforgiving. You weren't dragged, she said. You were confronted, because someone had to finally say what everyone else was too afraid to. What everyone else? I asked. You mean you, just you. This whole thing, this court case, this public humiliation, it all started with you. The host turned to her again. Why did you insist on taking this to court instead of handling it privately? She shrugged, expression so casual it made the audience bristle. Because privately he never takes anything seriously. But in court, she smiled slightly, he had no chi. For a long moment, nobody spoke. The cameras kept rolling, the lights kept burning, the audience kept watching, but inside my head everything went silent. My family's words echoed like they'd been carved into stone. If that's what it takes, erase me, replace me, remove me. I stared at them, my mother, my father, my sister, and felt something shift inside me, something deep and long overdue. It wasn't anger, it wasn't even grief, it was clarity. The host sensed it too. He stepped forward, hands gently clasped, voice low and careful, like he was speaking to someone standing on the edge of a cliff. I want to pause for a moment, he murmured, because what you're saying, it's not just financial, it's emotional. It's about identity, belonging, family. My sister rolled her eyes. Here we go. But the host ignored her. This isn't just about money anymore, is it? This is about choosing who stays in your life and who doesn't. I finally found my voice. You made that choice a long time ago. The court was just the place you said it out loud. My mother stiffened. Don't twist things. Twist things? I said, leaning forward. Mom, you sat there in front of a judge and said I was unreliable. Dad said I was a burden. And you? I turned to my sister. You told the judge I was dead weight. My sister lifted a brow, unbothered. If the shoe fits. The audience groaned at her coldness. Even the host winced. He turned to her. You don't feel any remorse delivering such a harsh line to your sibling, even knowing it's now all over social media? Her expression didn't soften, not even an inch. People love drama. I gave them drama, and I told the truth. So your truth, I said quietly, is that I'm disposable? She shrugged. Everyone is, if they stop contributing. Something inside me snapped then, not physically, not violently, but with the quiet finality of a string finally breaking after being pulled too tight for too long. You want to talk about contributing? I said. Let's talk about who's actually been contributing. My sister laughed under her breath. Here we go with the martyr routine. But I wasn't performing. Not for the cameras, not for the audience, not for them. I was speaking because for the first time in years I didn't feel afraid to tell the truth. When Dad's business went under, I worked 2 jobs, I said. I didn't tell anyone, I didn't complain, I just did it because the family needed it. My father tensed, but said nothing. When Mom got sick and the bills kept coming, I paid them behind her back so she wouldn't stress. I called doctors. I scheduled appointments. I managed everything. My mother's eyes flickered, but only for a second. And when you, I turned to my sister, needed money for your first big audition? Who paid for your flight? Who bought you that dress you said made you look worthy of being on camera? Who believed in you when no one else did? My sister stared at me, expression unreadable. It wasn't Mom. It wasn't Dad. It was me. A ripple of stunned silence traveled through the audience. The host's voice softened. Did you know that? My sister opened her mouth, but nothing came out. She hadn't known. She'd never asked. She'd never cared. My parents exchanged a glance, brief, uneasy, almost guilty, but they didn't deny it. The host stepped closer. So the person accused of being irresponsible, of not contributing, may have been the one holding everything together? My sister snapped back to life. Holding everything together? No, he did what he wanted to do. No one asked him to. I stared at her like she'd lost her mind. No one asked me to? You begged me. You cried on the phone. She shook her head. You're exaggerating. I remember your exact words, I said. Please, I can't go. I can't afford it. I can't fail again. If I fail again, Mom and Dad will stop believing in me. Please help me just this once. Her face went pale. The audience gasped. Even the host froze. My sister's voice trembled, barely, but it did. I didn't say it like that. You said it exactly like that. My voice grew steadier, stronger. And I helped you. Because you were my sister, because I loved you, because family meant something to me. Something flickered in her eyes. Fear? Shame? I couldn't tell. But then she masked it with anger. It was easier for her. Safer. That was years ago, she snapped. It doesn't matter anymore. It does, the host said sharply, surprising all of us. Because it shows a pattern. He lifted you up when you were drowning, and now you're acting like he's the one who should sink. My father bristled. This interview is biased. No, the host said. This interview is revealing. The audience applauded that line. My mother leaned forward, voice stern. You think you've suffered? You think you're the only one who's sacrificed? We've all done things for this family. I know you have, I said. I never denied that. But you erased what I did. You pretended it wasn't real. You pretended The studio had shifted. The energy wasn't the same electric curiosity from earlier. It was heavier now, more solemn, as if everyone present finally understood that they weren't watching entertainment. They were witnessing a family fracture in real time. The host looked from me to my family, eyes narrowed in an expression that blended disbelief with concern. If this was never about money, he said quietly, then let's talk about what it was really about. My sister breathed out sharply, annoyed. It was about money. No, I said softly. It wasn't. If it were, you would have answered differently. Her jaw tightened, and for the first time, she didn't have a comeback ready. The host stepped closer to her. You said even if the debt were paid, he still wouldn't be welcome back into the family. The audience murmured. Anger in some voices, heartbreak in others. My sister straightened her back. I stand by that. And why? The host pressed. What did he do that was so unforgivable? Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. She looked toward our parents, silently begging for support. But my mother just stared at her hands, and my father's eyes darted away, refusing to meet anyone's gaze. For a moment, just a moment, my sister looked like a child again, alone, exposed, afraid. Then she swallowed and replaced the fear with coldness. It doesn't matter. Some people don't belong. I felt something inside me crack, but not the way it had earlier. This time it wasn't pain, it was release. The host turned toward me. Hearing all of this, What do you believe this was really about? I studied my family quietly. The three faces that had shaped my childhood. The voices that once felt like home. The people I had tried so desperately to save. It was never about what I owed, I said. It was about control. It was about expectations I never agreed to. And when I stopped sacrificing myself to meet them, they replaced me with the version they always wanted. My mother flinched. My father's jaw tightened. My sister crossed her arms defensively. It was about deciding who they were proud of, I continued, and who they weren't. The host nodded slowly. And your sister became the golden child? My sister bristled. I earned my place. I stared at her. No, you earned Mom and Dad's approval, not your place. A gasp spread through the audience. Even the cameras seemed to lean closer. The host stepped between us again, sensing the tension ready to boil over. There's one more thing I want to understand, he said. Why come here? Why sit on this stage and say these things publicly? Your family agreed to appear. Why? My father finally spoke, his voice low and unsteady. Because we thought clarifying the truth might fix things. I tilted my head. Fix things? Or justify things? He looked away. My mother spoke next, voice tight and trembling. We wanted people to understand why we did what we did. And now that they understand, the host asked gently, do you still stand by it? She hesitated, just long enough for the audience to collectively hold their breath. My sister looked at her desperately, silently begging her to say yes. But my mother didn't say yes. She also didn't say no. My family made choices, she whispered, as if trying to convince herself. We made the best choices we could. The host turned to my sister. And you? Do you stand by everything that happened? Her voice was quieter now, smaller. I said what I felt. But do you still feel it? He asked. Silence. Absolute, suffocating silence. And in that silence, the truth showed itself, not through words, but through the fear in her eyes. She didn't feel as sure anymore. Not after everything that had come out on this stage, not after the audience saw the full story, but she couldn't admit that. Not publicly. Not while the cameras were rolling. So she looked at me, eyes desperate, and whispered, You changed. You pulled away first. You made it easy to let you go. It should have hurt. But it didn't, because I finally understood. I didn't pull away, I said gently. I just stopped setting myself on fire to keep everyone else warm. The audience applauded, loud, long, emotional. My sister's face fell. The host nodded slowly, his voice thick. I think that's the heart of this. A family expecting one person to carry all the weight until that person finally falls. He stepped back, giving me the room. After everything that's been said, what would you say is your truth? The truth you want the world to take from today? I took a deep breath, the kind that shook loose every memory, every burden, every unspoken battle I'd carried for them. My truth, I said, is that love isn't supposed to be conditional. It isn't supposed to be a contract. It isn't supposed to disappear the moment you can't give something back. And if my family can only love me when I'm useful, then maybe losing them isn't losing anything at all. The audience rose to their feet. Some clapped slowly. Some clapped.